The sky above the ruined city shimmered with unnatural light, a sickly green that pulsed like a heartbeat. The humans who survived the initial strikes dared not look up for long. The alien fleet hung above them like a predator, its shadow swallowing streets, towers, and parks alike. A low hum vibrated through the rubble, the sound of impossible engines and the anticipation of annihilation. And above it all, a single voice boomed, amplified through psychic resonance, echoing from every surviving speaker, every makeshift communication device. "No mercy," said the alien queen. Her image projected across the city was impossible to ignore. She was immense, a living cathedral of muscle and armor fused into something both terrifying and regal. Her eyes glowed like molten metal, her mandibles snapping audibly as she surveyed the trembling humans. The queen's armies, dark and sinewy, moved in synchronized precision behind her, hunting machines of living flesh, their limbs sharp, their eyes unblinking. Every survivor felt the weight of the threat, the undeniable message: surrender and die quickly, resist and be erased utterly. Yet, atop a crumbled skyscraper, one human did not cower. He stood straight, chest forward, boots balanced on the jagged edge of concrete. His name was Marcus, though most had stopped using names in fear of forgetting them. His eyes were narrow, scanning the alien armada with a mixture of calculation and amusement. The rest of the city had frozen. Mothers clutched children, soldiers aimed outdated rifles into the air, and scouts whispered desperate prayers into calms that would never be answered. Marcus alone laughed. It started low, almost a chuckle, then rolled into a full-throated, defiant sound that cut through the psychic roar of the alien broadcast. The queen's image twitched. Her mandibles clicked sharply, a sound akin to a predator sniffing the wind for weakness. "You dare laugh?" Her voice rippled across the air. "You will die first." Marcus laughed harder. He raised his arms, not in surrender, but in challenge. "First? I like those odds." His grin was broad, but there was steel behind it, an unyielding confidence that made the soldiers around him glance at each other in disbelief. Someone whispered, "He's crazy," but Marcus didn't hear it, or if he did, he didn't care. The hum of the alien fleet shifted. Their shadows deepened as enormous dropships lowered, their landing struts bending the pavement beneath them. Alien warriors, tall, grotesque, all claws and teeth, descended in perfect formation. Each step of their landing sounded like a drumbeat of war. Citizens ran, screamed, and fell, but Marcus remained, pivoting on his heel to survey the chaos. He wasn't foolish. He knew the Queen's army wasn't something a single human could face directly. No, his strategy relied on improvisation, cunning, and knowing the city better than the invaders ever could. He spotted pipes, toppled cars, and broken walls, each potential weapon, trap, or cover point. The Queen's voice echoed again, sharper this time, a threat meant to pierce even the strongest human resolve. "No mercy. You will be nothing." Marcus tilted his head, his grin widening. "Funny," he said to no one but the air itself. "That's exactly what I was planning too." And in that moment, amid terror and rubble, the city seemed to pause. Even the Queen's forces hesitated, sensing the audacity of this single human who laughed at absolute annihilation. Marcus's laughter rang out once more, raw and unwavering, a declaration that humanity was not yet broken. Somewhere deep in the alien command network, signals flickered with confusion. For the first time, the Queen's perfect certainty faltered. A storm was coming, but Marcus had chosen his stand, and from his vantage he could see every piece of the battlefield, every weakness, every advantage. Above, the alien Queen's eyes narrowed. Below, Marcus laughed again. The battle for survival had begun. Marcus's laughter echoed across the empty streets, ricocheting off shattered skyscrapers like a signal to the few survivors clinging to life. Soldiers, scavengers, and civilians froze, staring at him as if the human before them had grown horns or wings. No one moved. No one dared breathe. How could one man defy the alien queen herself and laugh in her face? The queen's projected form shimmered in the sky, her mandibles snapping faster, her psychic voice carrying a hiss that made glass shiver in its frames. "You mock me, human. I will show you the meaning of pain." Marcus shrugged, glancing at the massive shadow of a dropship descending slowly, its monstrous hull blocking out the pale green sky. He didn't flinch. "Pain? I've been living in the ruins for months. You think you can scare me now?" His words carried a confidence that made even the bravest soldier hesitate. There was no bravado in him, just calculation, honed from survival in a city the Queen's army had already turned into a graveyard. From the dropship, the first wave of alien warriors emerged. They moved with terrifying precision, each step measured, claws clicking against concrete. Soldiers of the human resistance, scattered and underarmed, opened fire, their bullets bouncing harmlessly off the alien exoskeletons. Most screamed and ran, some fell instantly, but Marcus stood, scanning the terrain. A laugh escaped him again, sharp and mocking. "Oh, you're serious now," he shouted, pointing at the first wave. Then, with a swift motion, he ducked behind the wreckage of a toppled bus and tossed a makeshift explosive, rigged from scavenged tech. The blast ripped through the formation, sending alien warriors tumbling, their screeches echoing like distorted music. The Queen's voice thundered, rage dripping from every syllable. "Insignificant human! You will regret your insolence." Marcus only grinned. "Regret? You're the one who's about to learn something." From atop the rubble, he began a pattern, moving through the city's skeleton with uncanny speed. He ducked down alleys, slid under broken walls, and triggered hidden traps, piles of debris, exposed conduits, and scavenged explosives. Every alien warrior that approached seemed to fall into a trap, impaled, ensnared, or blown apart. The city itself became a weapon in his hands, each step carefully calculated to maximize chaos and destruction. The remaining humans, initially paralyzed with fear, began to murmur among themselves. Some whispered names of ancient heroes long forgotten. Others simply watched, their disbelief slowly turning into hope. One young soldier, her rifle trembling in hand, whispered, "He's laughing at them. He's not afraid." The Queen's projection flickered as if caught in static. Her psychic reach tried to pierce Marcus's mind, to find fear, to crush it before it could spread. Yet, all she found was defiance, a grin, laughter, humanity distilled into a single, unyielding point of resistance. "You think your tricks can defeat me?" the Queen hissed. "You are but a single human. My army is infinite." Marcus crouched atop a fractured wall, catching his breath. He knew the truth. He couldn't fight them all, not head-on. But he could make them doubt. He could show them that humans were not prey to be herded and slaughtered. That was enough. He laughed again, a sound that carried across streets and rooftops, reaching even the scattered soldiers hiding in fear. It was not just laughter. It was a declaration, a promise that humanity, though battered, refused to kneel. The Queen's fury was tangible now, radiating from her projection like heat from a sun. Yet, in that heat, Marcus found clarity. He would not run. He would not hide. And he would make her army pay for every building, every street, every life they thought they had claimed. The mocking laughter of a single human echoed over a dying city, a sound the Queen would never forget. The streets of the ruined city became a battlefield designed by one human's mind. Marcus moved like a ghost, weaving through alleys and abandoned buildings, always one step ahead of the alien hunters. Each footfall was deliberate, calculated. Every shadow became an advantage, every pile of rubble a potential trap. The Queen had sent her best, bioengineered monstrosities that combined brute strength with terrifying intelligence. But Marcus knew the city better than any invader could. From the shattered rooftops, he watched the first hunter approach. Its limbs were long, hooked, and covered in glistening armor that seemed almost alive. Its eyes, black and unblinking, scanned the streets as it moved with predatory precision. Most humans would have run screaming. Marcus only grinned. He had prepared for this. Pipes rigged to collapse, wires leading to hidden charges, and barrels of fuel positioned perfectly. With a flick of his wrist, he activated a trap. A wall of concrete fell, pinning the first hunter under tons of rubble. Its screech pierced the night, and the vibrations shook the nearby buildings. Marcus laughed aloud, hearing the Queen's psychic growl ripple through the city. "You cannot escape," she hissed, her voice cutting into his mind. "Oh, I'm not escaping," Marcus called back, ducking behind a broken wall. "I'm hunting." The second wave came faster, moving with deadly coordination. Marcus didn't wait. He struck with precision, using everything at his disposal. Explosives detonated in carefully timed sequences, turning narrow streets into deadly mazes. The hunter's psychic link faltered with every loss, confusion spreading through the ranks. Even in their bioengineered perfection, the aliens could not predict a human's unpredictability. Marcus slid under a fallen steel beam as a hunter crashed over it, impaled on sharpened rebar. Another tried to leap from rooftop to rooftop, only to land in a pit rigged with jagged steel spikes. Every strike, every trap, carried his defiance, proof that even the strongest predator could be outwitted by ingenuity and courage. From the higher buildings, Marcus could see the remaining humans beginning to move, inspired by his audacity. Soldiers took calculated shots, civilians armed themselves with whatever they could find, and together they became a shadow army of resistance. His laughter echoed across the city like a clarion call, signaling that the hunt was not one-sided. The Queen's fury intensified. Her psychic presence stretched over the battlefield, seeking to locate Marcus, to crush his mind with fear. But Marcus had trained for this. He countered with misdirection, throwing false signals through salvaged tech, leading her hunters into traps that tore through their ranks. One hunter, larger than the rest, lunged from an alleyway, claws extended. Marcus rolled, kicked off a wall, and swung a makeshift blade of reinforced metal. The hunter's screech was cut short as it fell, immobilized. Marcus didn't pause. He pressed forward, moving like a shadow, every step a calculated strike against the alien army's perception of inevitability. By the time the Queen realized her hunters were being decimated, Marcus had become more than a human. He was a force, a symbol of defiance, a living embodiment of humanity's refusal to kneel. Every trap he set, every hunter he felled, carried the same message: humans fight back. Somewhere above, the Queen's image flickered with anger. Her army had been designed to eradicate life efficiently, without mercy. Yet one human had turned their strength into weakness, their coordination into confusion, their terror into opportunity. Marcus laughed again, the sound ringing across the city, sharp and unbroken. The hunt had begun, but it was no longer one-sided. The city was a labyrinth of shattered concrete, twisted steel, and smoke that curled like spectral fingers into the green-tinted sky. Every street Marcus had passed now bore the scars of his cunning: collapsed walls, scorched vehicles, and traps that had claimed alien warriors in brutal, precise ways. Yet the Queen was relentless. Her presence was palpable now, a psychic hammer pressing against the edges of his mind, testing him, probing for fear. Marcus paused atop a fractured skyscraper, surveying the battlefield. The Queen descended herself this time, a towering figure of armor and muscle, her mandibles snapping as her glowing eyes pierced through the haze. Around her, the surviving hunters moved like a tide of death, clawed limbs tearing through debris, every step a warning of the devastation they could bring. Marcus knew this would be the final confrontation, the moment where human cunning faced alien supremacy directly. "You've survived far too long, human," the Queen's voice boomed, filling the city with an almost physical pressure. "Now you die." Marcus let out a low laugh. "You think so?" he said, rolling forward and dropping into the shadows below. The Queen's psychic reach lashed out, searching, but he had prepared for this. His mind was shielded, every fear buried beneath layers of focus and audacity. He was ready. The first strike came before he could fully assess the battlefield. The Queen lunged with terrifying speed, claws slicing through the air. Marcus dodged, using a broken scaffold to swing himself up and around her, landing behind a toppled wall. The Queen's roar shook the ground, each movement radiating power and precision, but Marcus moved like a shadow, unpredictable and resourceful. He struck first, throwing a rigged explosive under her massive feet. It detonated with a concussive blast, throwing debris and energy back toward her, but she recovered instantly, mandibles snapping in fury. She moved faster than expected, claws striking toward him. Marcus ducked, rolled, and used the momentum to launch himself over her, landing atop a steel beam overhead. "You cannot match me," she hissed, her psychic voice probing his mind again, this time with force. Images of fire, destruction, and the deaths of his comrades flashed before him. Marcus clenched his jaw. He would not break. Laughter bubbled from his chest, defiant, raw, echoing across the ruined city. He slashed with a sharpened steel pipe, knocking a clawed hand away as the Queen lunged again. Sparks flew where metal met alien bone-like armor. The Queen struck back with psychic energy, and the air itself seemed to twist around Marcus. He rolled, narrowly avoiding the force that could have shattered his body. Around them, the remaining hunters hesitated, unsure how to proceed without revealing vulnerabilities. Marcus saw it, the hesitation he had created, the uncertainty in the Queen's army. He pressed his advantage, moving through the debris, striking where he could, using every improvised weapon, every tactical opening. The Queen's rage grew, her attacks more violent, more desperate. Each strike, each blast, only fueled Marcus's resolve. He laughed again, loud and unbroken, a sound that pierced even the psychic fog she tried to lay over the battlefield. She could feel it, human defiance, unyielding, mocking, unstoppable. And in that moment, Marcus realized something. He could not simply survive. He could make her army doubt. He could show that no matter the power, the alien might, humanity's spirit was a force she could not crush. The Queen roared, and Marcus smiled. They were locked in the storm now, predator and prey blurred into one chaotic dance of survival and defiance. And he was ready to fight, not just for himself, but for every human who still refused to kneel. The city was silent now, but not in the way Marcus expected. The streets still smoked, buildings leaned like broken teeth, and the air vibrated with the aftermath of relentless combat. Yet the silence carried a different weight, one of tension, anticipation, and possibility. The alien Queen hovered above the ruins, her massive form a dark silhouette against the dying green sky. Her mandibles clicked in frustration, psychic tendrils probing the city, seeking the human who had dared defy her. Marcus crouched atop a crumbled rooftop, surveying the battlefield with razor-sharp focus. The hunters had been decimated, their ranks reduced to scattered, cautious survivors who dared not approach without guidance. He knew the Queen's army was still formidable, but the tide had shifted. Fear and doubt had crept into their collective mind, seeded by one human who refused to bow. The Queen descended slowly, each movement deliberate, her psychic voice resonating with fury. "You will fall, human. You cannot defy me forever." Marcus smirked beneath his soot-streaked face. "You already know I won't. But maybe you don't know just how many of us are left," he said, glancing toward the scattered human survivors who were beginning to rally. Armed with scavenged weapons, improvised explosives, and raw courage, they moved with silent coordination. Marcus had shown them that the invaders were not invincible. The Queen's psychic reach lashed out, sweeping through the streets like a tidal wave, forcing debris and shattered glass into the air. Marcus rolled, narrowly avoiding the psychic blast that could have shattered his bones. He had anticipated this. From the shadows, he triggered a series of traps, pipes rigged to explode, panels of debris suspended to fall, wires leading to fuel caches. The explosions erupted in a chain reaction, turning the streets into a deadly gauntlet for the alien Queen and her remaining hunters. She roared in fury, her psychic scream shaking the city. Yet Marcus pressed forward, using the chaos as cover. He darted across broken rooftops, sliding under beams, and striking where he could. His laughter rang out again, not just a sound of defiance, but a clarion call to every human hiding in fear. Fight, and you survive. The Queen lunged at him, faster than thought possible. Marcus met her strike with calculated precision, throwing a rigged container of fuel that ignited on impact. Flames erupted, blinding her momentarily, and Marcus seized the opening. He scaled a leaning wall, sprinted across a shattered bridge, and kicked a massive cable that had been strung between two buildings. The cable snapped under tension, swinging down like a massive whip, striking the Queen and sending her crashing into the remnants of her own fallen ships. For a moment, the battlefield froze. The alien Queen, mighty and terrifying, lay prone amid twisted metal and rubble. Her psychic reach faltered, and the remaining hunters hesitated, unsure whether to continue the assault or retreat. Marcus stood atop a high wall, chest heaving, face streaked with soot, blood, and sweat. Then the humans emerged. Soldiers, scavengers, even frightened civilians armed with whatever they could carry, surged forward. They moved with purpose, reclaiming streets, clearing traps, and helping the wounded. Marcus's laughter echoed across the city, a symbol of triumph, of defiance, and of humanity's unbroken spirit. The Queen rose slowly, her mandibles clicking in fury and disbelief. For the first time, she faced the truth. She had underestimated the humans. Their courage, their ingenuity, their refusal to kneel, even when faced with annihilation, had turned the battle. She retreated, dragging what remained of her forces back into the sky, leaving Marcus and the survivors in possession of their city. Marcus stood alone for a moment, surveying the ruins. The war was not over, but humanity had won this battle. And as he laughed once more, raw and victorious, it was clear to all who heard it, even against the most merciless force in the universe, humans could endure, fight, and triumph. The city was theirs, and their defiance would echo across the stars.